Hey, welcome to the Trash Picture Show. I've already reviewed Alien 3 and I think it's an awesome movie. It's not a perfect movie, but it's pretty cool. What I haven't gone over is the numerous scripts that went into making the final product that is Alien 3. And there was four main ones. The first one was a draft by William Gibson, and it contained an organization called the UPP, the Union of Progressive Peoples. They were essentially space communists, and they wanted to kind of overthrow and destroy Weyland-Yutani. Um, they only appeared again in Alien kind of canon in the DS Aliens Infestation game in that storyline. But the story essentially starts with Weyland-Yutani rescuing Ripley, Newt, and Hicks and bringing them back to Anchorhead Station. Now, before Weyland-Yutani get there, the UPP arrived there and get their hands on a xenomorph that had stowed away on board the Sulaco. They feel that if Weyland-Yutani get their hands on a xenomorph, that they'll Weyland-Yutani will have a monopoly on this new bioweapon. So it's essentially an analogy for the Cold War. Um, the UPP attack Anchorhead Station. Unknowns to Ripley, Newt, and Hicks, the Weyland-Yutani commandos also brought back a xenomorph specimen, and they get loose when the UPP attack. It essentially leads to the UPP commandos, Weyland-Yutani commandos, being led by Hicks and Bishop to stop the xenomorph outbreak. It would end with Hicks preparing to blow up the station and having to fight off xenomorphs in a zero gravity kind of battle. And I think there was a really cool scene with a combat shuttle shooting aliens off the side of the station. And it was very ambitious. It was very gun heavy, and I think Fox wanted something a bit different, so they went to Eric the Red. Now, Rennie Harlem had suggested Eric the Red because he was a big fan of The Hitcher, and Eric the Red script is fucking crazy. It starts off very much like the Gibson script, where the characters are coming back from the events of Aliens. Commandos turn up, they attempt to rescue them, and they're all wiped out, bar one individual, a corporal called Sam Smith, who's sent home to his family who live on a space station run by Weyland-Yutani. In the original script, it was described like a department store or a massive mall in space that had shops, amenities, even farms in the higher levels, and in the lower levels, Weyland-Yutani had nefarious operations going on. During the mission, the Weyland-Yutani managed to secure, again, like the first script, a xenomorph specimen. They mutate it, and it ends up infecting the community above, not only the humans but also the animals. So you had crazy fucking xenomorph hybrids of cows and horses and sheep and pigs even, and insects. So it would all culminate in Sam Smith and a group of commandos and people from his community having to escape the station and destroy the aliens, which all absorbed into a big fucking blob. And again, I think the characters would have to use combat shuttles to shoot this creature, which was now grafting itself onto the space station. It was fucking crazy. It was like a 9-year-old boy's fanfic. And I think that Eric the Red, while he was good at doing kind of small scale stuff, he wasn't really the right man for the job for this kind of story. Harlem had bowed out. He'd been attached to Alien 3 for ages, and he just felt that he couldn't do something fresh and new. He could only just add more aliens and guns, so he bowed out. So Fox turned their attention to David Toohey. Now, David Toohey's script was interesting. It had Hicks as the main character. Fox had determined that the demographic, while the reception for Aliens was fantastic, the female there wasn't very much a big female audience. So they thought, okay, maybe if we done away with Sigourney Weaver's Ripley, and made Hicks the main character. So you had Hicks, who was put aboard a prison ship for not wanting to reveal the secrets of the aliens, and he's shipped off before the ship reaches their main goal. They're intercepted by Weyland-Yutani commandos, who are going to take the prison ship to the alien homeworld and use the prisoners as bait to trap an alien. Another aspect I did like was Hicks was going to get surgery on his eyes that would let him see in the dark, because there was no actual proper light source on the alien planet. Again, this was a very ambitious and action heavy script, and I think Chuhi was maybe kind of trying to emulate more elements from Aliens, which Fox wanted to try and step away from. They wanted to try and keep a more horror aspect rather than just have another rehash of Aliens. So Toohey stepped away. He later used his ideas to make his Pitch Black franchise. So you had the elements like the ship crashing. I think in his original script, the prison ship crashes due to an asteroid storm, which happens in Pitch Black. Vin Diesel's character Riddick gets eye-shined, and the xenomorphs were going to be very like the creatures in Pitch Black. So then you had the last script that was leading up to the final product, which was the Vincent Ward script, which was amazingly ambitious and fucking crazy. Vincent Ward script had the movie take place on a wooden planet, a wooden sphere in space, and it was constructed by Luddite monks who wanted to escape modern society. So Ripley crashes and an alien is on board. She's the only survivor, and the alien starts to murder the monks, and they believe Ripley is responsible. They believe that she's a female heretic who's sent by the devil to take their souls. And you had her being put into the bowels of the wooden station, and essentially meet a synthetic who was destroyed. It was a monk who was sent undercover by Weyland-Yutani to keep an eye on the other monks, and he'd been destroyed and disassembled and put in the bowels of the ship. So he's her only kind of real contact or friend in it. There was another character in it who altered the ending of this version of Vincent Ward's Alien 3, where she had become infected and he done what he thought was like an exorcism, but it was a weird kind of Gregorian kind of medical book he had found, and he was trying to get what he thought was a demon out, and as a result it jumped out of Ripley and into him. A lot of elements found their way into the final David Fincher movie. You had the monks were changed to prisoners, and they were bald, and they had a very religious kind of zealot view. They weren't a fan of Ripley. You had the Ripley's only kind of real confidant being a damaged synthetic, which was Bishop. You had a lot of elements that found their way into the finished product. Vincent Ward wasn't a fan of doing sequels, but he said he'd give it a go. He went over to Fox. They said they'd signed off on everything, but then he was brought into a meeting, and they were like executives saying, well, do they have to be monks? And what's with this wooden planet? And Ward was very upset. He had always operated outside the kind of Hollywood machine, but this event, I think, was the final nail in the coffin, and he never really done work for any big production companies again. You can certainly see why there was so much stress and aggro over the creation of Alien 3. It was given a release date before anything was properly constructed, and hell, even the fact that the trailer had "On Earth, everyone can hear you scream," it made the audience think the movie was going to be set on Earth. I haven't come across any solid scripts that had it set on Earth, but it is interesting to see how far it had come and what it reached, and you can understand as well why. I'm not going to side with Fox, but one, I can definitely understand why they didn't go with the wooden planet. As cool as that would have been, and as visually appealing as that would have been, I don't think it would have been viable. It would have been too crazy, and I think the suspension of disbelief for that to work would be too big. Also, with all the money they spent on writing spec scripts and getting stuff put together, you could understand why they were breathing down Fincher's neck. But I think that led to just it being a more derogatory situation for Fincher. If you're interested in finding out more about these scripts, I highly recommend checking out this book. It is Dissecting Aliens, and it's a box tree book, and it has elements on all four Alien movies. But yeah, this is an interesting book. I also have another book that went over the scripts called "The Greatest Sci-Fi Stories Never Made," and it has the different scripts of Alien 3, and it's interesting. As my housemate said, the making of Alien 3 and the fantastic uh, Wreck and Rage documentary on the Alien 3 bonus disc of the quadrilogy is wicked. And if you're a fan of Aliens, I highly recommend it. So yeah, Alien 3, you can understand how it was so messed up and how it got to where it was now. So my name's Martin. This has been the Traction Picture Show, and yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.